Welcome into episode 2 of Back of the Net. All the goals, all the news, and all the nonsense of the soccer world all in one place. Episode 1 was a week ago now-ish. We did a Premier League preview. Today, it's a delayed episode. It should have been filmed yesterday, but everything kind of got pushed back. So it's being filmed today on Tuesday. So next week it will be on Monday, more than likely. We'll take a look back at what was match week 1 of the Premier League season. We'll take a look at a match that's happening tomorrow, the UEFA Super Cup, which used to be, the opener of the European season, and then schedules pushed games ahead, and now it's not technically the opener, but yeah. And then we'll be taking a look at, we'll do some predictions for 3 other leagues. We'll do La Liga, the Bundesliga, and Serie A. La Liga already started. Bundesliga and Serie A start this weekend. With those, we'll only be doing top 7. Didn't feel like going through, the whole league. Felt just, honing all my ideas into a top 7, which is for all of those 3 leagues, is all the European spots if things work out like they should. And we'll go from there. So let's start with the Premier League weekend that was match week 1. We started off on Friday at Turf Moor in Burnley, with Burnley losing to Man City 3-0. But the big story coming out of this is Kevin De Bruyne for Man City looks to be out for 3 to 4 months probably. It's probably not going to be back until the beginning of 2024, which is a major loss for Manchester City, but it's still Manchester City, so it's probably not gonna, be a huge problem anyways, given that just the endless stacks of talent they have. They can just find a replacement anywhere, basically. Erling Haaland gets his first 2 goals on the season. The dude is absolutely insane. He is a robot. He's gonna have another impeccable season this year, just like he did last year. And I'm looking forward to see what else he brings this year to the league. So that was on Friday. Saturday, we started off with Arsenal beating Nottingham Forest 2-1 at home. Once again, injury news. The big news coming out of that is Jurgen Timber. Arsenal's one of their big signings of the summer looks to be out with some type of leg injury. They've said it's possibly an ACL, which would probably be worst case scenario. But, his debut game in the Premier League, and you're now out for who knows how long. That's just absolutely awful. Then we had a 1-1 draw with Bournemouth and West Ham. I think both teams showed, some good play during the game, but really it was just it was a race to a draw, basically. I think it was Jared Bowen got the goal for West Ham in like the 53rd or 54th minute, something like that. I don't remember the exact number, but it was somewhere around there. And then it was a Bournemouth goal in like around the 80th minute. And then it was kind of just playing for a draw there. Then we had Luton Town's Premier League debut in Brighton against the Seagulls, and Brighton walk away with a 4-1 win. And just as the scoreline indicates, Brighton dominated this game from start to finish. I wouldn't say it didn't look like they should be on the same field, because Luton did look like a good team at some points. Their one goal was a penalty, which, it's not a goal from open play. So, yeah. But Brighton really showed out. I kind of expected not as much intensity from them that they showed. I kind of felt like they would be taking a little bit of a step back this year, and it really didn't look that way. It looks like they might be even better, but once again, they're playing against Luton, so I really don't think that there's too much to read into this game. The other game I think there is some to read into. Fulham 1, Everton 0. Everton, once again, just they look to be Everton again. They'll be in the relegation battle once again. They just can't they can't get over the hump of either being completely terrible to be relegated or be good enough to be mid-table. They can't get over that hump, and that's going to be a very significant problem for them. I don't know how you fix it either, given all like the financial trouble that the club is in. Just seems very difficult for them at this moment to keep up what they are doing. It seems like time will catch up to them eventually if they keep on this path. I don't think dancing on the relegation line, it should be a goal for Everton this year. Fulham, it was an outstanding game for them. I think they'll still be a mid-table team this year. I don't think they have enough to compete for those final European spots, but again, that's a lot of reading into a game that is match week 1 of a 38 match week season. So I think we can slow the tempo on some of these takes. Crystal Palace get a 1-0 win over Sheffield United. Nothing really to call home about in that game. And the final game of Sunday, kind of a shocker to me. I think a shocker to a lot of people. Newcastle 5, Aston Villa 1. I was completely shocked by this scoreline. I thought both teams were really good. I thought this was going to be maybe like a 2-2 draw, and that just didn't happen. Newcastle really just ran away with this game. Tyrone Mings for Aston Villa went down with a just horrible leg injury. So he's going to be out for a while for Aston Villa, which is a huge loss for them. It's going to be hard to replace him. I think that's probably going to affect their league position. I know I predicted them in 5th. That might drop them down to, 6th or 7th, around there. But I still think that they'll be good enough to get back into Europe for next year. They obviously have a whole competition ahead of them in the Europa Conference League. So, again, it's a long season. Sunday, we had a Brentford 2, Tottenham 2. If you want my full thoughts on that, go watch Top of the Perch, which is another video on this channel that gave the full breakdown of my thoughts of the game. Even though it was a draw, I think Tottenham performed really well. And you can go for more in detail, go to that video. Then, as it's now being titled, El Boring Co. Chelsea won, Liverpool won. These two teams, it's either a 0-0 or a 1-1 draw every time they play, so nothing was surprising here. The big news coming out of this, though, is that the Moises Caicedo transfer saga is over. I think on Thursday, when I filmed the preview, or Friday, I think it was Thursday. It was Caicedo is getting Brighton will be getting a large bid from Liverpool, and it seems like he would be headed there. Well, he's no longer headed there. He is headed to Chelsea. That is official now. That is signed and confirmed and everything. So there's no more speculation. They paid £120 million, somewhere around there. Still a British transfer record. So Chelsea, once again, just spending endless amounts of money to do what? I don't really know. I still don't know what their end goal is here. It's basically, is this player good? Is the player young? Let's sign him. I don't get what Chelsea are trying to do right now. Especially, they bought half of Brighton's squad basically, and Brighton's still better than them. So, yeah. And then the final game of the match week, which was on Monday, Man United 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. And the big storyline coming out of this game was a VAR call with a penalty that was not given in the latter stages of the game. I believe it was on a corner kick. Wolves kicked it into the box. Onana comes out, the Manchester United goalkeeper, punches the ball, just completely tackles into one of the Wolves players in the box. There were obviously calls for a penalty. It went to VAR, and nothing came of it. VAR said, nope, no penalty. We're moving on. And that denied Wolves of an opportunity to tie up the game, and that led with Manchester United leaving this game with the full 3 points. It was a very questionable decision. The head of the Premier League officiating has already apologized to Wolves. That happened like a half hour after the game ended. So obviously it was a bad mistake. The refs that were on the game have been suspended because of a bad call. So I don't know. VAR it makes my head hurt because each year I feel like it gets worse and worse when they promise us it's going to be better and better. And I don't see any difference. I think it gets, like I said, worse and worse. I don't know what the change is, though, to make it better. Honestly, I have no idea. So there are some points where I'm like, yes, VAR is a good thing. It's good for, the progression of the game. But then there's other points like, let's just go back to when VAR wasn't a thing, like for real. Let's just get rid of this. We're fine with, the decisions of the refs, which, people wouldn't be happy by that. But I mean, VAR was supposed to be for clear and obvious errors, not like nitpicking the like nearest millimeter if a player's offside or not. So that's just my thought. There's got to be a better way for VAR. That's my big takeaway here. So coming out of match week 1, the standout performance was obviously Newcastle. They're now top of the table, sitting on 3 points with a +4 goal differential. Goal differential is everything. And honestly, like the loser of the week has to be VAR. Just given that call, it has to be. We do have one match coming in tomorrow, a European match, an annual match pitting the Champions League winner against the Europa League winner. It is the UEFA Super Cup, live from Athens, Greece, I believe it is. It's like Paros or something like that, Greece. It is Manchester City versus Sevilla in the UEFA Super Cup. I don't know what to expect from this game. I don't know what type of lineup City's going to put out, because they could put out, an absolutely first team, or they could put out a whole second squad, basically. I don't know what Pep Guardiola is going to decide here. Depends on how important this UEFA Super Cup really is to them. Sevilla, this is since, La Liga did start this weekend. I was going to say it doesn't start till next weekend, but it started already. I was going to say it was going to be a tune-up game for them, and it's not. I don't know how either of these teams approach it. I feel like every year the approach is somewhat different. Like last year, I felt like Real Madrid really took it seriously, and that evidently showed. I'm not saying that Frankfurt didn't take it seriously, but they just didn't have the talent to compete, which I don't think Sevilla are going to have the talent to compete with Manchester City. But if City puts out like a B squad, I feel like Sevilla can compete with that. But then like you look back 2022, 2021 it would have been, with the Villarreal Chelsea one, where it was, I think, 0-0 forever, and it went to penalties, and it was Chelsea that ended up winning that. It all depends on the mindset of both of these managers and what they want to do for this game. I still think City are going to win in full time. I don't think we're going to extra time. I don't think we're going to penalties. I think City will win this probably 2-1. And there's nothing really to call home about with that match, except you're winning the first European silverware of the year. So I did say we will be doing some predictions in this episode for three of the other biggest leagues in Europe, I should say, because if I just say three of the leagues in Europe, I could be talking about the Belgian first division or the Azerbaijani, third tier or something like that. No, we'll be doing La Liga, Bundesliga, and Serie A in that order. Like I said, I'm only doing 1 through 7 because that's the European spots. I feel like that's what people mostly care about. So might as well get into it. First, with La Liga, I have Real Madrid reclaiming the throne and winning the title this year. They obviously lost the title last year. Carlo Ancelotti, still manager. There were a lot of questions if he was going to be manager coming into this season. He is still in this position. I don't think they're getting Mbappe. I think it's way too late in this transfer window cycle for them to get him. And, the addition of Jude Bellingham, I think, is going to play a bigger impact than people think. And I think that's going to be one of the key factors that's going to get Real Madrid back to the top of the La Liga table. In second, I have Barcelona. I don't really see them dropping below 2. I think that they do have a good shot of winning the title this year. I don't think they will. I think Real Madrid's that much better. In third, I have, the team that perennially feels like they're in third place is Atletico Madrid. Diego Simeone, still manager there. I feel like his head has been called for multiple times, like the past 5 seasons, it feels like, especially when they get knocked out of European competition. He's still there. He's still survived it all. I still think they finish in third. In fourth, I have Real Sociedad. Sociedad, I should say. That's the real pronunciation. Real Sociedad. I'm expecting a decent season out of them. I think that they might be able to compete for third. I don't think that they can compete for second or first, but I think that they are good enough to finish in that third spot. I just don't think they get past Atletico Madrid, which I have them slotting in fourth. Real Betis are in fifth. That would be the first Europa League spot. I believe they finished fourth last year. I think they take a little bit of a step back this year, and I think they finish in fifth. In sixth, I do have Sevilla. We just talked about them. They had a rough year last year, league-wise. Obviously, they won the Europa League. I think they have a little bit of a bounce back this year. Now, if Bono gets sold, like it's sounding like he might get sold to Saudi Arabia, their goalkeeper, who's kept them in a lot of these games, I can easily drop them out of this top 7. But, I think they can finish 6th if he's still their goalkeeper, which puts them into a European spot, which would still be Europa League for next season. And then in 7th, I have Villarreal, the 2021 Europa League winners. Obviously, Unai Emery left them mid-season last year. I think they take a little bit of a step back this year, but I still think they do enough to finish in a European spot. And that spot would be the Europa Conference League. But I believe next year it's just being called the Conference League. So, I don't know. Moving on to the Bundesliga, you're going to say, wow, you're wrong automatically. Yes, I probably am. But if this is the year that Bayern Munich don't win the title, it feels like this year. And am I reading too much into the DFB Super Cup where RB Leipzig won it 3-0 on Saturday against Bayern Munich in their own building? Maybe I am reading into it a bit too much, but I feel like this might be the year that finally Bayern Munich lose the title and RB Leipzig claim the throne for the first time in their club's history. Now, the club's history only dates back to 2009, but it kind of feels like this might be the year. I just liked what I saw from RB Leipzig. Thomas Tuchel, his brand of football is painful to watch. Let's be honest here. It is quite painful to watch. I think that's going to end up costing Bayern Munich games that would have been crucial for them winning the title. And I think that might be why they don't win the title this year, is because of him. The question is, does he last the full season? I don't see why he wouldn't last the whole season. But, crazier things have happened. They sacked Julian Nagelsmann, and he had 3 losses and 3 draws on the season, I think. So I've seen crazier things happen. Dortmund, I have finishing in third. I think they just are going to take a step back. Losing Jude Bellingham is going to be a major loss for them. I don't see him competing for the title this year. I think it's a two-horse race between Bayern Munich and RB Leipzig. It's probably a one-horse race with Bayern Munich, and let's be honest here, they probably win the title. But it is what it is. In fourth, I have Union Berlin finishing in fourth, equaling their highest finishing position, which they finished in fourth last year, which got them Champions League football for this year. Obviously not obviously, because not a ton of people know, can't play at their home ground for the Champions League fixtures due to not having the facilities, so they will be playing at their, biggest rival, Hertha Berlin Stadium, the Olympiastadion in Berlin. That's got to be a gut punch. Hertha already got relegated last year. Now they have to once again share their stadium for European competitions for their rival club. So I think that they can finish in fourth again. I don't see them taking a huge step back. I think they got even a little bit better this year than they did for last year. In fifth, kind of a surprise pick. I have Wolfsburg. I just don't know. I just have a feeling about them. I think that they can do really well this year. I think that they can get up competing for a Champions League spot. I don't know if they'll get it, but I like the idea of them having a shot at getting possibly Champions League, but most likely Europa League football next year. In sixth, I have Eintracht Frankfurt, the 2022 Europa League winners. I don't remember where I think they finished in seventh last year, so this is a step up from last year. Once again, they're kind of the same team as last year. It kind of feels like, there's still time left in the transfer window for things to change, but I think they'll just teeter around where they were last year. And finally, in seventh, I have FC Köln. I want, kind of like Wolfsburg, I just kind of have a feeling about this one. Last year was just what felt like to be a disaster for them in their sense. They didn't even make it out of the group stage for the Conference League. And, that impacted their league form. I think they finished in 10th or 11th or something like that. And I think they'll end up finishing in that Conference League spot once again come, next year. So given that, we'll move on to the final league I will preview today. And that is probably the most competitive league of the top four leagues. I'm making it a top four because yes, France is one of the top leagues. It's not top five. Let's be honest here. It's a one-horse race almost every single year. The only year it's not a one-horse race is when Mauricio Pochettino is managing PSG and they lose to Lille. So the most competitive top four league, it's got to be Serie A. I had trouble with these predictions because I think, honestly, like 4 or 5 of these teams can win the league this year. But my official predictions are these. I think AC Milan win the Scudetto, I should say. The proper Italian pronunciation. The Scudetto. I think they win it again after winning it not last year, but the year before. They've made some good signings this offseason. I think that they've gotten better. They've improved on what they were last year. I mean, they made it to a Champions League semifinal last year, and they only lost to the team that finished I have finishing right below them. They're inner city rivals, Inter Milan. Both clubs do have a little bit of financial issues. Inter Milan more than AC Milan. That's why I have Inter finishing in second, given that. Because, they've tried to make a few big signings this summer that they just can't get done because they don't have the funds for it. But I still think that they have a really good team that can compete for the Scudetto. In third, I have Juventus. Last year was just a disaster from start to finish just because of everything off the field. This year, they're not in European football. That was a settlement with them and UEFA with, the stuff that was going on off the field with cooking the books, basically. So they will be playing basically one game a week, which probably helps them in their, chase to win a Scudetto this year, which probably should vault them to second in my rankings or my predictions, but I have them in third. In fourth, I have AS Roma claiming a Champions League spot under Jose Mourinho for the first time when he's there. They're in the Europa League this year after losing in the Europa League final last year to Sevilla. I think this is the year that Mourinho gets it done, finally gets Roma back to the Champions League. It just kind of feels like this is year 3, so either everything's going to go absolutely stunningly great or absolutely stunningly horrible. I'm kind of leaning more towards the great side, and I think that they can at least get back to Champions League football. In fifth, I have the defending Scudetto winners, Napoli. I think the loss of Kim Mae-jae is going to be a big factor. Osimhen's still there. Krevashela is still there, but transfer window is still not closed. I can easily still see them winning the title again. I think the teams in front of them got better this summer, and Napoli didn't do a ton, so I just have them finishing in fifth. Lazio finishing in sixth. I consider moving them up to maybe 5, maybe 4 if this Hugo Lloris signing happens. Yes, the past few years Tottenham have seen him degrading, but the Premier League and Serie A are two completely different things. I think he would be a great keeper in Serie A. I mean, Gianluigi Buffon has been a goalkeeper there for forever. He was at Parma the past 3 years, I think, his last 3 years of his career, which is a Serie A B team. But I think just Lazio finish in sixth here. It's just, if the Lloris signing goes through, I can see them bumping up. And in seventh, I have Fiorentina, who only get European football this year because Juventus, with their settlement, got kicked out. They finished in 8th last year. I think they finished in 7th this year. Their key players are still there for now. We'll see what happens with that. But for now, it looks like their key players like Sofian Amrabat is still there. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how this Fiorentina season plays out for them. So given that has been episode 2 of Back in the Net. We'll be back on Friday. We'll do a match week 2 preview for Premier League and La Liga. We'll do match week 1 previews for Serie A and Bundesliga. We'll have a third place game and a Women's World Cup final to preview. We didn't really talk about that much tonight because it would have been pointless to review one semifinal match and then with the other match happening tomorrow, wait until Friday to review that. Might as well just do them at the same time. I'm sure there's going to be other stuff to talk about. I know Inter Miami was in the League's Cup semifinal tonight against Philadelphia Union. They were up 3-0 before the filming of this, and I'm pretty sure they ended up winning the game 3-0. I could be wrong there, but I'm 95% sure that they won that game. I believe the League's Cup final is this weekend, so we'll probably preview that too. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe if you really enjoyed it. Tell anybody you know about it. And we will be back on Friday, maybe Saturday posting, but it will be filmed on Friday for another edition of Back in the Net.